Today on CityCast Nashville, I'm joined by Emma McCauley, founder of Folks Table, a platform that fosters social connection through in-person experiences. Intrigued? Well, I sure was. But turns out it's pretty simple. You buy a ticket to a table that hosts up to 6 strangers at a coffee shop, bar, or restaurant around Nashville. And once you're there, you play the game, which you'll learn more about later in this episode. I think you're really going to enjoy my conversation with Emma, who I have to say was a complete stranger to me before this interview and is now a friend. CityCast Nashville is presented by our exclusive launch sponsor, Tecovas. It's Monday, October 7th. I'm Marie Cecile Anderson, and this is what Nashville's talking about. I'm going to just jump right to it. What the heck is Folks Table? I've been seeing it everywhere on the internet, and it's described as not a dinner club, not a members club. It's not speed dating. What the heck is it?
My God. I'll put it this way. It didn't start quite like this, and that's been the best part of evolution. This candidly started as dinner parties in my house.
With strangers?
With strangers, no less, in my attic, Marie. And
wow.
It was, I think, for so many of us, right? Trying to figure out what connection was. I was a young 20-something in Nashville and had a lot of energy and excitement to connect with people, but just was getting really stuck in the activity of it. And so I thought, I've got this A-frame of a space upstairs. I've got folding tables. I have no business cooking for people, but I at least can bring them together. And so we made it happen. And as far as I know, no one got food poisoning, or if they did, they just didn't tell me about it. And that was the start. Unofficially, over 300 people came through. It was spectacular in that people really treated it like a pay it forward. And so genuinely, week after week, I would have anywhere from 12 to 16 strangers showing up to my house. And I had a great time. But I think, Nashville's got a lot of change going for it. There are a lot of people moving here trying to figure out what life as we know it will look like. And I found that we could not help, even if there were 12 people with the most wild stories and crazy tales and life to share. We got stuck talking about work and weather every single week until I laughingly said, this is my house and my rules, and we're not doing that anymore. And so that really was the start of the game of Folks Table, where we chuckle and we say, no work, no weather. We all spend enough time talking about kind of what's up with you. And life is too interesting, and people have too much to share of their own experiences or their thoughts or their habits or the way that their junk drawer is organized or their current state of their car and the notes app on their phone, just even kind of these mundane versions of how we think about our life. That is really what started to fuel and drive the program and conversation-based experience that we come to know of Folks Table now.
Wow. And so when did you first start your dinner parties? And then when did you launch the official Folks Table?
We ended up in our first restaurant March of 2023. And you can appreciate, knocked on doors and said, hey, who wants to host these strangers with cowbells and egg shakers? And not a resounding yes at first.
Yeah, I bet.
People said yes. And so we kept to a monthly pace. We're having events that were anywhere from kind of 30 to 60 people, started selling out pretty quickly. And still what was true then is true now, that didn't matter how many people were showing up to the restaurant. We still were placing people at tables anywhere from 4 to 6 strangers. And so I think what we started to realize is, we're moving through Nashville, obviously phenomenal infrastructure of restaurants here, hospitality industry, above and beyond, is that we folks were really able to deliver on this social experience, and we're able to partner with restaurants to deliver on that culinary side. So fast forward then, by March of 2024, we were at South by Southwest. And then really kind of hunkered down this past summer as we built out this next phase of Folks that has recently launched, which is through our web app. And why we say that is because that allows for greater access and opportunity to connection. Anyone, any day, anytime, breakfast, lunch, dinner, morning, noon, night, can book a table of 4 to 6 strangers across the city so that we can experience this version of a true sit-down social network. Not in my house, and not just monthly, but really as a practice of our daily life.
Well, so it's all about connection through conversations, right?
That's right.
Okay. How do you make that easy on these strangers? Because my chest is already getting a little tight of the thought of really putting myself out there like that.
Yeah.
And for how long do these events last? 2 hours? So 2 hours, I have to sit with strangers and chat.
I really appreciate that version. It's refreshing and it's candid. You are not the only one. Myself as an extrovert, even every time I think to myself, my gosh, we're doing this again. And I think that's the best part of it, right? Is really all of us, introverts, extroverts, ambiverts alike, experiencing connection as a form of asking better questions and having better conversation routinely. And so that's where we folks come in to help alleviate that. And we say, you don't have to show up and have anything on your mind that you're wanting to talk about. There's no agenda. That is where you'll see the game placed on every table. And there are rounds of questions that really are meant to help people just jump in at the end of a workday. I went to breakfast this morning and sat through a table, got my day started with better conversation. We've got that on your Sunday afternoons or your Monday nights or your Wednesday lunches, just to give people a chance to talk about more than work weather and what's up with you of their life. And I think that's where we are really excited by what folks can offer is whatever version of you is showing up to the table, one that has had perhaps a best day, a worst day, or a very normal day. The experience is built to meet you right where you're at and walk out the door a little bit lighter, a little bit more reflective, and a little bit more connected to the people in our town, our locals and our neighbors and people we wouldn't have otherwise had a chance to meet.
Now, here's a question for you.
Oh, I'm so excited. Marie, this is funny to be on the receiving end, right? We're usually the ones asking so many questions. So you just buckle up. Some will come back your way too.
Okay. I love it. Well, so my twin 5-year-old nephews just came to visit, and I had the utmost pleasure of reading them one of my favorite books, The Berenstain Bears Talk to Strangers. Do you remember this
classic? I sure do.
So in it, you will remember that Sister Bear started talking to strangers and Brother Bear ran home and told Papa Bear and Mama Bear all about it. And so they really had to have this conversation about safety in talking to strangers because there's bad apples in every bunch.
Right.
But it really has such a great lesson to it of that, yes, you can talk to strangers, but also you need to follow these safety rules. So what type of safety rules do you have in place to keep your strangers safe?
I really appreciate that. And a great nod to the Berenstain Bears and to others who, from the start, there are a lot of authentications and verifications that happen as someone's completing a profile, right? So that we know that this is a real person who lives in Nashville. The questions themselves help you understand, I think, what type of people who we find at our tables, right? So even just that nature of who are you as a person that is entering into our folks table universe, we have all that on the back end and pay very close attention to that. The second side, which I would say is really important to us, is the actual program experience is built to support any type of a combination of people at the table. I know we laughed about kind of these different depths of questions. You get warmed up with some of the lighthearted, you move in round one, and then you move into round two. But we also built in a lot of wild cards to the deck. We had gotten really helpful feedback early on that, depending on the nature of the group, the type of people and their stories and experiences, topics could be really weighty, not necessarily heavy, not necessarily problematic, but just if you're really asking someone about a time in their life that was a turning point, or if they walked in the room, who's the first person they want to see? Depending on someone's level of openness, you might really be getting into kind of uncharted territory. And so what was really important to us about how we built the game is that these wild cards were a chance to kind of come up for air.
Oh, I love it.
And so it might say, pause. Everybody go around and say names one more time. Names are hard. Or freeze, look to your left and have a thumb war. And I think the kind of delight and silliness of that definitely comes from former life of mine as a middle school teacher, trying to be sure that adults can have fun. But I think the other real program of that is let's give people a chance to take a deep breath, that there is a programmed time in which everybody can kind of hit a pause if one person's got the mic, if one person's, kind of change the dynamic in that way. And then to the third piece, and we've talked about this question for a long time, so I'm happy to go in directions you want. But I think what's really important to us too is that we love asking questions. That is such a part of the brand. And that we have a culture at Folks where people talk to us after the experience. It's called the debrief. And they can tell us, was there a faux pas that we missed that we wouldn't have been privy to? We're not at all the tables. We're not hiding in the bushes. I promise that's not us, in trench coats, watching from afar to make sure it's working, right? We want people to have these really organic experiences. And so we really trust folks to tell us, what did we miss? What could we have controlled for? We'll own that. We'll correct for that. What couldn't we have controlled for that we still want to know about because we might be able to figure out something better next time.
So it sounds like Folks Table has reached hundreds of people. And I'm curious what feedback you have received from participants about how the platform has impacted their lives or careers.
I'll put it this way. I think about just how personal this experience is for people, right? I mean, you're catching people breaking bread with strangers. You're asking people about, the metaphorical and real junk drawers of their lives. And I think what has been so powerful about how people have showed up to the Sit Down Social Network is we really have focused first and foremost of who you are, less what you do. Ooh. We focused a lot on, right, how you spend the hours of your day rather than what your title is. Where do you enjoy spending your perfect day in Nashville versus where do you live? And so I offer all those reframes and questions because I think what is interesting is the feedback that we get is less oriented towards, I got a new job out of this, or I made a professional connection through this. I am sure that many, many of those have happened just by virtue of people coming together, having different conversations. But I think what we hear most often is that people are relieved that there are other people like them that want to talk about the real stuff of life. And if that is their job, which it might be, if that is their breakup or their pets or their neighbor or what their go-to gas station snack is, right? All of that is fair game. And so I think when we ask people about their experience at Folks, we really are keen to understand how close we are at helping people experience a more dynamic social life and that they're connecting, as you probably saw on the site, it says connect to something. And we are even keen to say something because that something can be someone, but that something I believe can also be yourself. And that at the end of a table, for instance, this morning, the question that I got was, when was the last time or what was a recent moment that you felt really close to yourself? To share and reflect on that with strangers was really powerful. And I shared this morning, really prioritizing habits and routines in my life that I don't have to explain to other people, right? That the way that I choose to orient my day towards movement or towards rest or towards energy givers and not owe anybody an explanation on that, that has been a moment recently for me that's given me a lot of closeness to myself. And so I walked out of tacos this morning with strangers, yes, having met wonderful people and having experienced this closeness to myself that was also really important to my day.
Now, I have a logistical question for you.
I love those too.
So on the website, it had all these beautiful pictures of strangers sharing a meal.
Yeah.
So my question is, I always struggle, at the end of a meal, who's going to pay? How are we going to split the bill? Even with friends and family. But with strangers, how does that work?
Any one of us can think of the moment you sat there and you're like, I didn't eat any of that. Thankfully, we try to make that really easy too. So on the front end, people pay Folks Table a booking fee. And that ranges anywhere from $10 to $17 to book at one of our tables, coffee, breakfast, lunch, or dinner. The shortest tables are 60 minutes and the longest tables are 120 minutes. The other side of that though, to your point, we are giving full autonomy to folks when they show up to tables of what they eat and what they drink. And I think that that's really important too, right? Is that, as you said, some people are really accustomed to sharing food with people that they don't know. And for other people, that is like the craziest suggestion that they ever would have received. And so we've got it both ways. If you're somebody who wants a plate to yourself, that is so easy to do. You are still responsible at the end for paying for that yourself. Or if you're someone who's really looking to experience kind of a true shared plate, true shared experience in that way with the culinary side of things, many of our restaurant partners have also offered tables that people can select into kind of the chef's table experience, where it really is more of like a pass the plate, shared tapas style meal. And all of that we try to spell out really clearly so you don't show up and be surprised by sharing whipped feta with everybody else.
I love sharing whipped feta.
I'm with you. I'd share whipped feta with friends, with strangers.
Yes. Well, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, I'm hoping that maybe you'll play the game with me.
Yes. Yes, Marie. Yes.
All right. We'll be right back.
All right, admit it. It's time to replace your not-so-trusty old boots. You know the best place to shop for quality, handcrafted men's and women's boots is at your local Tacova store, at the Mall at Green Hills, or on Broadway by the Ryman. That's right, you now have 2 locations to choose from, so stop by and grab a cold one as you peruse. Tacova's Nashville is at your service. It's always a challenge to find boots that fit well and can survive a night walking around town, but you can find your perfectly fitted dream boots with the help of Tacova's expert staff. Your new Western boots can elevate a casual look or add a refined flair to any outfit. Everyone will be asking where you got your sick boots, but I won't be asking because I know they must be Tacova's. That's TECOVAS.com. Don't go gently, y'all.
And we're back, and I'm still here with Emma McCauley, who is about to make me play the game, which is the core of Folks Table's conversation-based programming. I wish you listeners could see this incredible box and logo. Oh, okay, I'm describing this. What's in the box? There's a red chair. It's
Tiny
a miniature. Tiny chair. I love this. Oh, wow. And it says, hello, you.
Hello, you.
Okay, so a stranger would sit down with a group of other strangers and the game would be in the middle of the table?
You got it.
Okay.
And we send everybody an email about 12 hours out, which lets them know what their role is at the table. We've got roles like the applause aficionado or the Toastmaster. And again, I'm delighted. This really comes from the place of it's fun to have fun. That's a core value at Folks Table. So, Marie, I've drawn for you. So, in our level 1 questions, other people at the table get to answer what we would guess for you.
Oh.
And then level 2 questions you get to answer for yourself.
Okay. So if I had a minor superpower, like fast walking, a photographic memory, what do you think it'd be and how would I use it every day?
Marie, just met you today.
Okay.
As is true of strangers. But if I had to guess, and I got a little bit of a head start because we were talking about a love of Taylor Swift. I do picture your minor superpower to be something in the genre of like, could hear a phrase, could hear a word, and could like automatically think of a song or like a set of lyrics and just like has this ability to like remember and recall songs and phrases and words and like could always sing a tune or offer like a little melody if needed. I don't know what superpower that is, but you strike me as having some talent such as that.
Oh, wow. That's just spreading joy talent. Constant.
Here.
Or Shazam. Internal Shazam.
and you know we all need that. You know that we're all in the elevator trying to do that.
That is really fun.
What would you say that you actually think a minor superpower might be?
Oh, gosh. Is it one that I want or one that I already have?
Ooh, honestly, we laugh. We're not into technicalities around here.
Oh, okay.
We're into authenticity. So whichever you feel more called to.
Well, I really think that my superpower is being able to read people well, an empath. I hate when people are like, I am an empath and I really feel, but honestly, I really can pick up what people are throwing down. And I think that's because I've been in storytelling and a performer for my entire life, but like just understanding how to read people, I've always had that gift. And it really does help when producing content.
No kidding. Well, I will say on the receiving side of it, it is always fun to have someone that matches your energy. And so you do that very well.
Oh, thank you, Emma.
Okay, well, here is mine that you get to guess for me. It is, as we mentioned earlier, what do you think my go-to gas station snack is? Explain. Which aisle of the 7-Eleven would you catch me in?
Ooh, that is such a great question. Are you a honey mustard pretzel kind of gal?
Stop this. How did you know?
Are you serious?
I am alarmed. I am a Dots girl. I'm a any pretzel, any form kind of girl.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
I love that. How did you know that?
I don't know. I was getting savory treats from you.
Getting savory vibes.
With a little pizzazz.
Yeah, definitely some like maybe funky breath at the end of it. That is the land I live in.
I love it.
Okay, so now we're on to level 2. And
Okay.
these questions, it says level 2, answer about yourself. And this is the one I drew. If you don't like it, we can throw it back and pull a different one. But that's the one that my hand was on.
All right. So it says, what in your life do you think will seem the most meaningful when you look back years from now? That is such an interesting question to answer in front of strangers.
Hear, hear.
Well, our listeners are about to know me very well. So my dad actually passed away very recently of Alzheimer's. And that is the whole reason why I moved back to Nashville initially, to really show up for the family. And I think that is truly what my friends and my family have celebrated me lately, because I was able to have this time with him and time with my mom and my sisters. And obviously it is a nightmare of a disease, but then to bring awareness to other people, I've been really supportive to close friends who are going through similar situations. I mean, there's a lot to navigate when you have older parents, and we went through it all. And so I'm really, really proud how I show up to support my friends and family.
Oh, Marie, thank you for sharing that. I know that anybody listening would say the very same and probably wishes they could tell you that directly. But I think it's so powerful to hear, like you said, about something like that is very outside of control, very beyond what any of us have a playbook for, to still have a chance, like you said, to reflect on what that has taught you about yourself and your family and your surroundings and your life as you know it now. So really appreciate you sharing that.
You're welcome. That felt very nice, actually. It's like these questions can be quite intimidating, but what do I have to lose?
Genuinely, I think that is what, when you were asking earlier, if I, revise comments, which we don't often around here, we talk about, it's nice to give draft 1, version 1, like on the spot comments in a way that, in the context of work or in the context of family or relationships, we do spend so much time around our delivery and making our points and kind of all of that component of it. And so I think it is really powerful, like you said, to be on the spot in front of people who have no context to your life and are willing and eager to listen is very different dynamic for sure.
Well, I wish we had more time so we could continue playing together. So I'm just going to have to sign up and actually go to one of these things.
I can't wait for that. I won't be there, but I can't wait for that to happen.
Well, how can our listeners find this and sign up themselves? Because honestly, I think this is such a beautiful thing that you're doing for our community. I've never heard of anything like this.
I would say first and easiest place is our website. That is folkstable, FOLX, table.com. And you'll see the prompt to make a profile. That helps us, just like we said, recommend tables that we think are meant for you based on the people that are already signed up, the food that you want to eat, the price that you want to spend, and where you live in town. You can always see any other table beyond your recommended tables, but we try to offer that first pass for you. And then book a table, book a seat. You can see tables right now up to 2 weeks. That is always true. You can see them day of, you can see them 2 weeks out. And then follow us on Instagram as well. We're really present there. We offer questions of the day. We talk about connection. We also have a lot of fun. And we are folks.table on Instagram. And that's us.
Well, I really cannot thank you enough. And I will be joining you.
Woohoo, Marie. See you out there. Thanks, everybody. This has been really fun.
Thanks. That's all for today here on CityCast Nashville. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend? Rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Nashville newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Toodles!